There are a handful of creators on YouTube and Twitch who I could be very content watching them watch paint dry for hours on end. And that reality and that dynamic has informed a bit of my approach to what I'm doing right now, the content that I'm creating, the way that I'm approaching it, and things like that. And so I'd like to talk about that. So let's do it. I don't know if I've said this before, but my approach to all of this has always been to create what I have consumed. I've spent the last 5+ years of my life consuming a lot of YouTube and Twitch content. And as I migrated from the world of Netflix series and that type of stuff to this more homegrown content, I've learned a lot about what I think makes it good and what makes it bad. And the spoiler is that I think that it is much more about the people doing it than exactly what they're doing. And so that idea has kind of inspired what I refer to as my nichelessness. The fact that a lot of the advice on starting up on YouTube, for instance, is find a niche and stick to it, right? Find one thing and do it incredibly well. And there is a lot of wisdom to that, but it's not exactly what I'm doing. And that's because, in a way, my niche is being me. The way that I think about things, the way that I perceive things, my ideas about the world and what's interesting to me. And I have diverse interests and don't really want to be tied down to one thing. What I've decided to do with this video as my 10th video is to do a bit of a State of the Union retrospective and a little bit of kind of looking forward at what's next and what I'm planning on doing in the future. Because I think it's good to check in periodically, and there's something nice and round about number 10. Before we dig into that, let's just talk about what I consume, because I don't think I've really talked about that here before. I consume a pretty heavy mix of live and curated content. Curated content being things that were kind of recorded, edited, massaged to perfection, and live stuff that is kind of just whatever, what a person is doing, be it talking about a topic, playing a video game, whatever it happens to be. And then within that live and curated content, I really see there being a split right down the middle between opinion and educational content and gaming-related content. The opinion and educational content I love and enjoy. It's things like Adam Savage's Tested and his ability to create things out of nothing. I find incredible, fascinating, and I could watch him build a holder for Q-tips for hours on end and just be endlessly entertained. And the second half of it is gaming. And gaming is one of those things that I've found people either get it or they don't. And I think it mostly comes down to people's relationship with games. I was talking to a former roommate of mine, and she's gotten very into watching Twitch, and we really connected on our enjoyment of watching other people play video games, because the reality is that playing a video game is taxing. It's not entirely recreational all the time and things like that. And that tax, that exhaustion that comes from attempting to do a thing in a video game is not always something you want along with the enjoyment of like playing a video game. And so watching others play video games can be a really enjoyable, vicarious experience. And it's something that I definitely enjoy. I enjoy an incredible array of different video games, some of which I would never even want to play myself, but they make great content and they're fun to watch other people play. So where am I now in this ecosystem? I've created 3 spaces for myself to kind of explore these different facets. The first one that hopefully everyone watching this is most familiar with is Notapotamus. And Notapotamus was logically the second thing that I imagined. It all kind of started from my original gaming handle Aldenpotamus. And Notapotamus was kind of like, well, what's the other stuff that is not Aldenpotamus, the gaming handle? And so that's where Notapotamus was born. And it is meant to scratch that curated opinion, educational perspective, and also just be kind of like a living record of my exploration of learning and growing as someone who wants to produce content. It is in its purest form about me as a person, my perspective, and my philosophies, and my desire to share some of the things that I've learned over my life and some of the things that I have pondered and considered with others. Then there's the other half of the space, which is the gaming handle Aldenpotamus. And Aldenpotamus is about having fun. And the reality is that that was first and foremost a Twitch thing. Because I think that there is something very enjoyable and compelling about the act of playing video games to an audience. Video games provide space for interaction, for people playing along, for people getting excited about what you're doing. And Twitch and YouTube Live provide a forum for that. I can have someone come in and I can spend some of my additional brain cycles explaining the game that I'm playing to someone, or explaining and letting people in on my thought process for the way that I'm approaching a particular problem in a game. And that's been really awesome for me. And so as part of that, I've kind of settled on a few core games that I am particularly fond of and familiar with. And I'm playing those on a regular schedule 4 nights a week for anyone who wants to come and visit. It seems a little ridiculous to not stop for a moment here and talk about the games that I'm playing, because I think a lot of them have kind of captured my attention and adoration because they are incredible in their own respects. So very, very briefly, Monday nights I'm playing Darkest Dungeon, which is a gothic Lovecraftian turn-based RPG style game where you construct a band of adventurers and delve into dungeons trying to gather wealth and loot and defeat an ancient evil. Then on Wednesday nights, I'm playing a game called Hades that is this incredibly beautifully voice acted and with a very distinct art style game all about the child of Hades and Persephone attempting to escape the underworld. It involves all the Greek gods and all kinds of incredible storylines and narratives. It's a lot of fun. Then Thursdays is a game that is near and dear to my heart because it's one of the games that I've been playing longer than any other, and that's Minecraft, which is a game that, if you're not familiar with it, is just the nexus of all creativity. It is a game in which whatever you can imagine, for the most part, you can create. And as a result, it just has this draw to it that is very unique and has been unique in my life. And then on Saturdays, I just play whatever seems fun and cool. It's a variety day. It's a day for me to pick up whatever has caught my eye. But I thought it was worth mentioning all of those and showing off some of the beautiful art from them in a bit of a cutaway before we return. So let's get back to the main story here. The last segment of this three-headed beast is Aldenpotamus, but on YouTube. And YouTube is, right now, all about hosting the VODs, as they're called, the recordings of my live streams in a permanent place so that people can go and find them and discover them. Creating the second YouTube channel is perhaps one of the most controversial or against best practices things that I've done as part of my getting started. The reason is that creating multiple YouTube channels has the potential to split my audience. I could end up with 50 subscribers on one channel, 50 subscribers on the other channel, and very little overlap between them. And the result of that is that I don't reach that critical mass where YouTube starts seeing me as worthwhile and starts sharing my content more broadly, which ultimately is one of those things that is going to help me grow an audience. But at the end of the day, I felt that the gaming content and the opinion and educational content were too different to smush into the same space, even if it creates a lower velocity of growth or things like that. So that's the status quo. We have Notapotamus on Twitch, Notapotamus on YouTube, and Notapotamus on YouTube. And those three things kind of are the Venn diagram for the things that I love and enjoy in the world of the content that I consume and that I wanted to give back and share more broadly. So what about the future? What is next on the agenda for each of these different properties? First, we have Notapotamus, this channel. I think the one that I invest the most of my creative energy and attention within. The first thing is better storytelling. I want to tell better stories with clearer morals and endpoints and points that you can take away from them, and start to refine my ability to tell a story in a fun and compelling way. I also want to increase the production quality. That's why I'm buying a higher quality camera. I'm continuing to experiment with new camera angles that let me gesticulate more effectively and things like that. And then finally, I want to vary the content that I'm creating. Because right now we've been doing these kind of like short, philosophical 15-ish minute type videos, but I want to branch out into some other spaces. One of the things that I've been thinking about that the time just wasn't right for is kind of a much shorter segment that I think the working title for is Current Event. And it'll be maybe a minute to a minute and a half delving into one particularly humorous or weird story from the previous week. The inspiration for that one was there was an article about Meghan Markle and her husband, Prince, I don't remember whoever it was, and the fact that they created a podcast, and that podcast came in second place to a podcast or whale sounds, essentially. And while I know that that was meant to be disparaging to the prince and princess, the actual reality from my perspective was that that article was really underestimating the juggernaut that is whale sounds. I think that the reality is that type of white noise is probably hugely subscribed to, and the idea of anyone beating whale sounds early on in their production career is completely insane. But I digress. At some point in the future, I would love to do that, but there's a whole set of hurdles that come along with it. I also want to start doing review style content. I love kit. I love gear. I love things that make my ability to do things greater. And so I want to start sharing some of the solutions that I am finding to the problems that I'm encountering in creating videos and things like that. And so I think that it is only fitting to start to explain and explore those things because I have a great deal of enthusiasm and love for finding the right tool for the right job. Next up with Twitch, I really see it as just putting the time in. I think most of the big Twitch streamers that I've seen, or most of the successful Twitch streamers who have an audience that they can interact with. And by the way, with Twitch, that is the goal. I want when I log in to have people to interact with. It doesn't have to be thousands and thousands of people, but I want to be able to sit down and talk to a group of people and hear what they have to say and learn from them and share with them what I am doing. So to that end, I need to find those people. And the way that I find those people is by putting in the time. Big Twitch streamers basically always say, I spent the first 6 months, a year of my Twitch career yelling into the void, or maybe to a very close group of friends. And then slowly they honed their craft, they got better, and things started to fall into line for them, and they started to have an audience to interact with. And that's a self-fulfilling cycle. Having an audience creates the kinds of things that people want to watch. That interaction is something that people want to engage with and want to be a part of that community. And I want that. That sounds fun. That sounds cool. So that's Twitch in a nutshell. Lastly, there's Notapotamus, the YouTube channel. And it's an interesting thing because I want to do a lot more with it, but it's definitely kind of the last thing that I think I'm going to do. And watch, I'll eat my words and it will become the one that consumes all of my focus. But right now, it's just 5+ hour long videos of me playing games. And I don't expect anyone to sit down and watch that. That's not the plan, unless they're like super into the game or something like that. I've had some limited interest around my Minecraft series in particular, because I go through and I explain things that I'm creating or things that I'm building. And that is useful, and I am drawing on a wealth and history of knowledge about playing Minecraft. I've been playing Minecraft forever. But I want that to change over time, and I want more curated content in that space. As an example, one of those farms that I designed and built in Minecraft was a bit of a Rube Goldberg device. I'll probably show a little video of it somewhere around here or something like that. But it was a unique design that I created to solve a problem that I haven't seen other people solve. And so I'd like to create a high quality edited video that tells the story of the creation of that thing, why it's important, and what's going on. And so I think that in the future, at some point, Notapotamus, the YouTube channel, will start to trend from being exclusively recordings of live content to having a live content recording archive type of field coupled with kind of a curated, edited type of thing. So to wrap things up, what it all kind of comes down to is that there is this Cerberus three-headed beast thing that I'm working on that is 2 YouTube channels and a Twitch channel. And the common link that ties it all together is me and a brand surrounding me. And so a lot of the work that I am going to be doing over the next 10 episodes is about improving that brand and that presence, and also iteratively refining each of those things. One of the things that I find very challenging, and this will be kind of like a last thought to end on, is I am so grateful for all the feedback that I have gotten, and I have not acted on as much of it as I have wanted to. And that's because I believe in being very incremental in making changes and improvements to things. Like, as an example, I like the new framing that we have right here. I think that it is an improvement over what I had previously done. But I'm also glad that I spent a fair amount of time in on closer shots of me, learning about the limitations and challenges that come with it. The, let's say, overlapping boxes that showed up over my face obnoxiously in, I don't know, maybe the last video or something. But that incremental step-by-step improvements means that the feedback doesn't get incorporated as quickly as I necessarily would want it to or hope that it was. But it doesn't mean that I'm not incredibly grateful and listening and writing it all down and saving it for later. But anyways, that's the state of the union. That's what's going on with me. That's where I have been. That's what I have done. And that's where I'm going. And I'm super thrilled about where I've gotten to already and the journey that I have embarked on. This has been so fun and challenging and interesting. And I look forward to the next 10 videos. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you're having an incredible day. And until next time, bye. Notapotamus. Ponderous.